I'm looking forward to the final round of the Six Nations, but at the same time, I'm not ready for it to end. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. This should be a fantastic weekend of rugby ahead of us. We've got 4 teams in the hunt for the title. Realistically, though, I think it's 2 teams unless results go a certain way for the other 2. And yeah, all the games, there's something riding on each of them, and that's what you want going into that final round. You don't want to have any dead rubbers or ever. And this year it's been a fantastic tournament, and the results from last weekend, especially France winning in Dublin and winning so well in Dublin as well, just completely turned the competition on its head and set up what looks like a brilliant kind of set of 3 games, because now the way we have it is we've got, it's building up the teams with the better chance are playing later and then later, and then ending up with France, who are the red hot favourites really to claim the title. So it couldn't really be set up any better, I think, for this final weekend. But first thing we're going to do is quickly look at what the fixtures are. Then we'll talk about each of the fixtures individually, and then we'll have a bit of a summary. So all these games on Saturday 15th of March. The first game up is Italy versus Ireland. It's at 2:15 kickoff, and it's at the Stadio Olimpico. It's on RTE if you're watching in Ireland. Then the next game, Wales versus England at the Principality Stadium, 4:45 kickoff. That's on Virgin Media if you're watching in Ireland. And then the really the big game of the weekend, and depending on what would have happened, and I should have said not depending on what would have happened last week, I think this would have been the big game of the weekend anyway. Even if Ireland had beaten France, Ireland versus Italy still wouldn't have felt like the big game. Like France versus Scotland feels like it has that kind of gravitas around it, and it feels like the games through the day are getting bigger and bigger. But yeah, France versus Scotland, Stade de France, 8 o'clock kickoff. This one on RTE as well if you're watching in Ireland. Okay, so those are the fixtures. Let's go through each of the games then and talk a little bit about them. So first up, Italy versus Ireland. As I said, Saturday 15th of March 2025 in the Stadio Olimpico, and it's a 2:15 kickoff. Last year it was Ireland 36, Italy 0, and then the year before, Italy 20, Ireland 34. Far more competitive from Italy in that game, and I'm expecting to be more competitive in this one as well. And looking at the odds, I think the bookies are certainly expecting them to be competitive, but not necessarily win. So Italy 12-1 and Ireland 12-1 on. So bookies obviously going for an Ireland win, and in the end comfortably. But I still think Italy are gonna make them really work for that win if they do actually win. And then the draw is 55-1. So let's start with Italy. I think for them there's maybe a sense that there's a chance that wasn't there before France beat Ireland, that maybe they could turn them over. They've beaten Ireland before, and I don't think they'll have any fear of Ireland. Yes, in terms of world rankings, quality, performances in recent years, there's a bit of a gulf between the teams. But Italy have shown they can step the game up, and they can stop the opposition playing as well. And Ireland, we saw against France, we basically saw the template for how to beat Ireland. If Italy can do something similar and get a bit of a score going, get that crowd behind them, and Ireland may not be able to turn things around, especially when you think that for Ireland they no longer have a realistically, I think, no longer have a title on the line. They definitely don't have a Grand Slam on the line, and they're more kind of playing for pride and just basically keeping England and France honest by trying to get themselves maximum points in this one, right? And I think as well, if we talk again about Italy, like also they have the fight to avoid the wooden spoon is back on, because Wales came back against Scotland in that second half, claimed 2 losing bonus points, and now they're just 1 match point behind Italy. So, Italy will feel like they need to get something out of this game to try to avoid, let's say Wales got again 2 losing bonus points against England, and Italy didn't get anything out of this game. Well, Italy are going to have the wooden spoon, and what was, felt like a fantastic tournament for them, then it's going to end really poorly for them. So they don't want to do that. And they'll really want to finish this campaign on a high, and also they're going to want to put their own game against France behind them too. You can say that about I think both of these teams is, in this game, they're going to want to put the result against France behind them. They're going to want to kind of just forget that and try to play as good as they can. We see in terms of attack that it's, they definitely have it. They can put teams under pressure. They can score tries, some nice intricate play, etc. Defense really is the issue for them. So if they can get that right and maybe put, the Irish set piece has creaked at times as well. So if they can put the set piece under pressure, there is a path to victory for Italy in this game as well. And that's what they're going to try their best to do. But I think it relies on them getting a decent start. They don't want, Ireland getting up ahead of steam. Like, that's what France did so well, is to prevented Ireland from, if Ireland had been on it, they probably would have scored a couple of tries in that kind of 15-20 minute period where they had France, under all kinds of pressure on the line. But France held. They didn't give away too many penalties, and they got turnovers at crucial times, had Ireland up over line. Italy need to do something similar probably in this game, or start the game on the front foot themselves and be putting the pressure on Ireland. But I think it all will rely on them getting a decent start and then forcing Ireland to chase the game. That's when this Ireland team, really do kind of, feel the pressure on them, is when they have to chase the game. They're not the best team in the world at chasing a game. We've seen it in the past. We saw it in the World Cup against New Zealand. We saw it in November against New Zealand as well. We saw it against France, that if you can get a bit of a lead on them and then just keep that scoreboard ticking, even if Ireland are scoring themselves, if they're not getting back, on parity with you, then you can kind of stretch it out, and you'll see more mistakes from them. You see poor decisions from them as well, and that's what Italy really need to do. From Ireland's point of view, then, I'm expecting they're probably going to pick a stronger side than maybe they otherwise would have for this game, because that's kind of Ireland's thing, right? Is that they lose the game, and instead of like other teams like England, Scotland, France, whoever, they lose a game and it's a poor performance. What they'll do is they'll bring other players in, they give them a chance, right? And they make a lot of changes and say to players, listen, these guys didn't perform. It's your chance now to stake claim for their jersey. Ireland generally don't tend to do that. They generally try and give the team a chance to back up, to prove themselves again, and prove it was just a blip. Now, it's nice to be loyal to your players, but I'd rather that Ireland did give the wider squad a bit of a chance to say, listen, if the guy ahead of me isn't performing, I'm going to show you what I can do. And that's one of the things I think is really missing from this Ireland squad. And it's kind of what led to the performances in November and the performance against France, and some of the kind of hiccups they had, even in the wins that they had in the Six Nations as well. And it's that lack of competition. You look at the Ireland team, and most people in Ireland, bar maybe one or two picks, would be able to just rattle off the 1 to 15 when everybody's fit, right? And then they'll be able to rattle off the bench, and then if one of these players is out, who's the next guy to step up? Who's the next guy? all kind of very regimented, right? And there's very little kind of movement between the two. Whereas you look at teams like France can have like, their starting front row, and the next game then they can swap them with their bench front row, and you hardly notice a difference because they do rotate them, and the quality is there. The experience of being the guys, in possession is there for them as well. Nobody is kind of put into that slot of you're a backup. Whereas if you look at most of the Ireland bench that played against France, like, other than Crowley, like, it's hard to make an argument for anyone that was on the bench to be starting ahead of the guy that was on the field, because again, there's that kind of kind of almost a tier system within the Ireland squad, that these are the top tier guys and you're slightly lower down, so you're on the bench, and we need to breed, I think, a bit more competition within the squad. We've seen this year with Leinster, compared to previous years where they're trying to do that. They brought in the likes of Soleimani, Barrett, and Snyman as well, and they've kind of turned things around there as well in terms of the kind of the pecking order too, and it really has helped them and helped the younger players to come up as well. It's not just about putting the frontline players under pressure. It's creating an environment as well where young players can come in and flourish too. Ireland haven't done that. They have brought in Prendergast, but Crowley hasn't been getting a chance at 10. And that's something I talked about before the tournament. I thought that Crowley should have been the guy in possession. He should have been the starting 10, but I thought that they would have rotated the 10s through the whole tournament, where, it would have been basically like a game each, and then come down to the final game, and then, both of them would be involved, probably pretty evenly, maybe like, 55 minutes or something, like, or 50 minutes to 30 minutes, something like that in the final game. We haven't seen that through the tournament, and I don't know what's going to happen in this one, honestly. But I do, suspect that is, we're not going to see wholesale changes from Ireland. There will be some changes. I don't think it's going to be exactly the same 15, but they're not going to be maybe changes with too much of a view on the future, the way that maybe the fans want to see. But for Ireland, like, for them to win the championship, first of all, they know they absolutely will need to win with a bonus point to have any chance of winning the championship. So that's kind of, basically Ireland know obviously if they lose, they're not going to win it. But if they don't win and get a bonus point, then they're out of the running straight away, because they won't be able to, beat, like, if England or France win, then Ireland are gone, right? So they know they have to get the bonus point to have any kind of outside chance of winning. Okay. The next question then is, will Crowley actually get a first start of the campaign? Hope he does. I'm a big, like, I'm a Leinster fan, right? But I'm not the kind of Leinster fan that's like, all the Leinster players, like, are better than all the other provinces, and therefore they should start for Ireland. Like, for me, I want to see a mix of players from when they come into Ireland camp. They're Irish players. They're not Leinster players or Munster players or Connacht or Ulster players. They're Ireland players first, right? And for me, I think Crowley needs a start in the Six Nations. I think it's going to help him, and also it would be good as well to see how Prendergast copes with being the starting 10 and then having to come off the bench from there. Will he react positively to that, etc.? Because you can't just leave him in there because you're worried how he's going to react to it. You have to kind of test him, and I think in terms of mental fortitude, I think he has it. I think he's been getting like a a lot of kind of attention from the opposition. You would expect that with a young 10 coming in for Six Nations, etc. So it'd be nice to maybe take the pressure off a little bit from him, put Crowley on to start, and then bring Prendergast on later. So we'll see if that happens, or even if both of them are going to be in the squad. Maybe they'll, Kieran Frawley might actually make a reappearance, although I don't think so. And then the next one then, selection-wise, is Gary Ringrose being available. I absolutely do not think that he should be available for this game. This should be his last, of his 2-match ban. This should be the second one. Instead, he's available because basically Simon Easterby told his disciplinary hearing that he was definitely going to play, would have, had he been available, would have been released to play for Leinster against Cardiff. No, nobody believes that. Nobody in Leinster believes that. Nobody in Ireland believes that's true. Right. So I don't know why the disciplinary panel just took it on face value. And I really dislike the fact that they did that as well. Like, I know some people will say, well, you got to do whatever you can to, play whatever cards you have, basically, right, in terms of stuff like that. But for me, you have to look at it, first of all, in the bigger situation, right, is that if Ireland really desperately need Gary Ringrose to be available for Ireland versus Italy, then, I do think that the Ireland squad, there are a lot of problems that haven't been fixed, that need to be fixed. But if he absolutely has to be available for us to beat Italy, then it's a hell of a lot worse than I'm thinking. I think there definitely is stuff that needs to be ironed out. But if they need him for this, we really have trouble. Especially when you think, like, they got Bunyak Key, they have Henshaw, they got Osborne who can play in there as well. So they're not short of options in there. So that's one thing to look at. And the second thing is, it doesn't sit right, honestly. It doesn't sit right in terms of, like, and to do it in that way, right, where all the other fans or other nations or whatever are looking at and thinking it's so unfair that they've done that. Like, you have Entomac coming out about it as well. The fact that he couldn't use a Toulouse game to the same way that it was used for Ringrose to reduce his ban as well. So it's just a really bad look all around for Ireland, I think, and I wish we hadn't have done it, but we did. I'm honestly hoping that Ringrose doesn't play in it, but I can't see them going through all that and then not having him in the starting team for it, because what was the point otherwise? Then coming back to then the championship, so they're in terms of the three teams who realistically can win the title, they're definitely the outsiders to win the title. They're going to need a bonus point win, as I said, but also, they're going to need for at least France to lose against Scotland and England not to get a bonus point against Wales. That's kind of their outside. That's the minimum that has to happen for them, because if France win, there's no way Ireland can win the title from 2 points behind them. It's not going to happen. So definitely Scotland have to do them a favour and win, but then Wales have to do them a favour as well and deny England a bonus point and keep that score kind of tight. And then Ireland could win, based on, first of all, getting a bonus point against Italy, and then getting a decent winning margin as well to beat England on points difference, because they're absolutely not going to beat France on points difference. But yeah, that's kind of the appetizers that were for the weekend, is Italy versus Ireland. Now let's talk about the next game, as we go kind of going up in jeopardy as we go through the games. So next then is Wales versus. Hang on, give me a sec. My mouse has gone a bit wonky. Here we go. Okay, Wales versus England. So this one, Saturday, 15th of March, 2025, at the Principality Stadium, 4:45 kickoff. Last year it was England 16, Wales 14, and then in 2023, Wales 10, England 20. So fairly close games, especially last year. Wales putting in a decent performance in terms of the context of the game, at least. And that one, the odds a bit weird. This one, because Wales is 37-10 on, or sorry, not on, 37-10 to win. It would be odd if they're odds on favourites. So about 3.7 to 1 basically is what that is, right? And then England are 18-5 on. They are the favourites, and rightly so. And then the draw is 35-1. So this one, we'll start with Wales. So very positive second half against Scotland. And I'm glad they had that, because that first half they were very poor, and I was thinking, maybe Ireland was just new coach coming in and we have a bit of a bounce, but now we're seeing the kind of the extent of the task ahead of them, and to some extent that is the case as well, right? You can't just take the second half and just ignore the first half as well, right? There is a lot of things to be fixed from that performance in the first half, but the second half's definitely very positive from them, showing a lot more attacking intent. Definitely need to work on their defensive side of things though as well. And against England, they absolutely can't start as badly as they did against Scotland. If they do, England at the moment feel like they're getting that rootless streak that they're kind of missing. They've kind of built up through the tournament, and if Wales are poor in the first half, England are going to be out of sight. I think Wales might again rally in the second half, but England will probably stretch away again. So Wales definitely can't have another poor start. Fans obviously would love a win. First time in what are we on now? 16 in a row they've lost. But yeah, they'd love a win. Obviously, they'd also love a decent performance. If they don't get a win, just another good performance, I think, and just keep that optimism going into the summer tour, where they should definitely pick up at least one win against Japan. And so I think it's great that the Welsh fans are coming into this now, with the hope that maybe we're going to win, and at least we're going to see some decent stuff from Wales as well, compared to the doom and gloom, that was there, up until Gatlin left. I think Matt Sharp coming in really has just completely transformed them. Not just as a team, but the whole squad, the whole group of players, I think, just far more optimistic, and, fans as well. And it's great to see, because, you don't want to see, well, at least I don't want to see other rugby nations kind of being down in the doldrums. I want to see everyone kind of up, optimistic, competitive. Obviously I want to see my team winning more often than not, but at the same time, I don't want to see other teams just being completely out of it and fans falling away and stuff like that. And that's what was happening in Wales. Hopefully now this is the start of a good positive kind of run for them. Get back to winning ways a little bit, get the fans back involved. The same then for the regions as well, and just get positivity around the whole game in Wales. And then hopefully that positivity then will lead to the kind of changes that they need in Welsh rugby to make sure that what's happened over the last kind of year or two doesn't happen again. You will have kind of, peaks and troughs, obviously, as any team will, but it's more, you look at the Wales situation, you think a lot of that was more, has been kind of created, their own mess that they created, right? Not supporting the regions, properly. The whole women's side of the game as well, all the shenanigans that went on there. And then, the WRU not really leading, and then the whole thing with PVAC and Gatland, etc. So hopefully now they put that behind them and they can go on positive from here. But one thing as well is, David Jenkins said Wales can't let England win the title in the Principality. That's nice. Like, I think in terms of like fighting words, it's a good thing to say from his point of view, obviously from Wales' point of view. Just get that fire going into the game. But ultimately, if England are better on the day and Scotland are also better on the day, England probably will win the title in the Principality. So you might fire Wales up a little bit, but I think that will fire England up too. England have a title to play for, and just hearing that, the Welsh really don't want you to win the title, especially on their home patch, might be kind of fuel for them too. So be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out at the end of the day. Then on to England. Again, they know they probably need a bonus point win to claim the title. But I think their best hope, honestly, to win is for Scotland to beat France. If Scotland beat France and then England win with a bonus point, then England are champions. There's no two ways about that. Ireland won't be able to catch them. France obviously won't be able to catch them either because they'll have lost. And the thing to remember as well is there's a massive point difference of 86 to make up if they end up at the same points as France. So they really do have to finish above France in the title. And because they're 1 point behind, them winning with a bonus point and France winning brings that points difference into play. So for them to make up 86, that means that they basically got to beat Wales by more than 86 points. And the reason I say that is because for that to come into play, it means that both England and France have to win. So if France are going to beat Scotland, right, and not get a bonus point, France have to win by at least 1 point, which, before you take in the England result into account, that means France then are 87 points difference ahead of England. So then England then have to beat Wales by 88 points to claim the title. So that's a massive, massive ask for them. And, Welsh fans are probably thinking, maybe if Gatland was still there might have been a chance of it. But there shouldn't be a chance now under Matt Shard. So England really, they've just got to, again, go out there, do their best, and get as many points as they can, get the win, get the bonus point. That's what they can only do, what they can do, right? Control what you can control, as I say. But one thing then will be interesting to see is, are they going to continue to be expansive? We saw them being more expansive against Italy compared to other games that we've seen them play this year. Are they going to continue that? Is the pressure of going for a potential title going to kind of make them, not be as free with doing stuff like that? Maybe errors, or they're kind of going to be a little bit more conservative, make sure we win the game, rather than, going out just to, play as well as they can and then see what happens. But I think one thing that is pretty sure is that they're going to kick a lot, and especially box kicks, because whether it was a good performance, a win or whatever through the tournament, one thing has been a kind of constant for them is lots of kicking and lots of box kicks. Against Italy, we saw them kicking longer than we've seen them kick previously in the tournament, so that might continue against Wales. But we still have seen that the majority of the kicks are short kicks, so those are box kicks and chips over the top, grubbers, that kind of thing. So we expect to see a lot of that as well against Wales. And it's one of those things where if that happens, but also when they have possession, off that, and something happens, and then they throw the ball around and it all looks good and it's all kind of, nice intricate play, like where we saw a slight home second try, basketball offload from Itoje, and then the nice little offload in behind the defender from George, and then slight home with the spin and in to score. If you see them playing stuff like that, then you kind of forget about the number of kicks. But if it's kind of dour and kind of, this is kind of a bit of a wrestling match, then the complaints about the kicks are going to come back. That's guaranteed. But I think for England, I think they're going to feel confident, honestly, coming into this, because they've improved through the tournament, and that's really, like, a lot of captains and coaches talk about that, is building momentum through the tournament. And England have done that. They started with a loss against Ireland, albeit that they ended that game pretty well, scoring a couple of tries towards the end, getting themselves a couple of bonus points that really have come into play now at the end of the tournament, where that losing bonus point, like, if they hadn't got that against Ireland, then we wouldn't be talking about them as title contenders. I think at this point, they would be the outsiders rather than Ireland, and France probably would be just looking to rubber stamp their title at this stage. But they've improved all through the tournament, and what they'll want to do is they'll want to force France to win the title. They won't want to go out and kind of fluff their lines and not produce a win, and then basically, France go into their game knowing that if England have lost, France just need any kind of win against Scotland, and it's guaranteed. And even a draw probably would do them at that stage, because whatever has happened in the Ireland game, France might actually be able to get a draw with a bonus point and still win the title. So England will absolutely not want that to happen. They'll want to go out there, get their win, get their bonus point, and then say to France, okay, now you produce, or it's our title. And I think that's the best that their fans can ask them, that the coaches can ask them, and that's what they'll be aiming for. But as I said, the Welsh lads will absolutely want to stop that as much as they can, and that that's going to be the great dynamic, I think, of this game. Really looking forward to this one, and then on to the game of the weekend. That again is kind of all building up through the day to this, the main event. So France versus Scotland, Saturday 15th of March in the Stade de France, 8 o'clock kickoff. Last year it was Scotland 16, France 20, and 2023 France 32, Scotland 21. So France would take a win like that certainly this year. Odds: France 8-1 on, Scotland 8-1, and 45-1 for the draw. So fairly barely kind of like much like in the France favor in terms of the odds, right? That the bookies feel like, okay, basically just give France a title. Like some bookies probably already paid out on them winning the title at this stage, you would imagine. Not too many, because they don't like giving away free money, but 8-1 on feels like, it's definitely France's title to lose, right? And when we talk about that, France absolutely the title favourites by a fair margin, and given the way the table looks and what they've done, especially last week against Ireland, and the last 2 weeks, Ireland and then Italy before that, really has paved the way for them to be the favourites. Absolutely deserved from them. And they know that, a bonus point win guarantees them the title. If they do that, then it doesn't matter what happened in the other games. There's no way anybody's catching them, right? Then a win without a bonus point, probably still win it, because, again, that points difference that they have is pretty much like an extra point for them, right? If they finish even with anyone in terms of the points at the end, they're going to be on top because of that points difference. Because you can't see Ireland going and absolutely hockeying Italy the way France did. And even if they did, it's really would take special circumstances for France and Ireland to end up on the same amount of points anyway, right? Because Ireland will probably end up with a bonus point win, which would bring them up to 19 points, and France, currently on 16 points, would then have to get 3 points out of the game against Scotland, which would be a draw and a bonus point for tries, right? Which isn't beyond the realms of possibility, although we don't have that many draws in rugby. But even at that stage, France would probably still win the title because, again, Ireland would have to, make up whatever it is. Again, they're like plus 13, so 93 points on France. So, France have lots of ways to the title, and the other teams have only one or two routes. So one thing to consider just in terms of the game rather than the title, I think, is no Dupont. Also, no sighting despite all the calls from Galtier. And honestly, I'm not saying this again just because I'm an Ireland fan, but honestly, it just looked like a rugby incident to me. And I'm glad that there wasn't a sighting, because if we're going down that route of citing everyone that's just because a player is injured, that we have to always be looking for a sighting, I don't think it's the right way to go. I think if a sighting is deserved, then players absolutely should be cited. But for me, looking at that, like it's, there's a tackle going on, there's ruck clearing out, etc. And unfortunately, Dupont gets injured out of that. And again, I'm not saying it because it's an Irish player, in Byrne, that could have got cited for it. I'm just saying that it looks like a rugby incident. And I think people who've watched my channel for long enough know that I would say that it was the opposite way around as well, right? It was Byrne who got badly injured and Dupont was somehow involved, but it looked like a rugby incident. I call it as I see it. I think that it's only fair to be that way because, for me, if I want to talk about rugby with people, I can't be kind of, I'm always going to have a bias because everybody's a bias towards their own team, but I've got to be aware of that and to kind of check myself as well. So therefore, I tend to look at things, from, I wouldn't say a neutral standpoint, but generally look at things from the other side of things as well, and all kind of different angles before kind of make an opinion up on, make up my mind up on something. But for Dupont and the other guys who got injured over the weekend as well, wish him a speedy recovery. Guy is a sensation to watch, and this match is definitely going to be poorer as a spectacle without him there. Not that Luku coming in isn't going to be brilliant as well, because he was excellent against Ireland. So there shouldn't be a problem from that point of view. It's just that Dupont is a special player, and special players, you want to see them playing, as much as possible, because it is a very short career, and in a blink of an eye, his career will be done, and we'll be just watching back highlight reels or wherever, and telling, wherever, like Generation Beta, when they come through, what a special player he was, and they'll be saying, well, he's not as good as whoever the current best player in the world is, right? That's just the way rugby goes. But yeah, wish him a speedy recovery. But Also, for this game, I think the atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric. France is first tilt of the title for a very long time, and they know like they're favourites. France, compared to, if you look at especially like Ireland, Scotland, and Wales and Italy, kind of not too much, simply because they haven't had the favourites title for too much. But France and England, I think, those two teams, the favourite titles sit much easier on their shoulders. So France, I think, would be loving the fact that they're favourites going in, and all the pomp and ceremony. It's just going to be an amazing, I think, night of rugby there, and just overall as well, the whole atmosphere is going to be brilliant. On to Scotland then. For them, they can turn a pretty disappointing campaign into a good one with a win in this one. I think that certainly would kind of salvage a lot from this tournament for them, because at the moment, if they lose this, then they'll have wins against Italy and Wales to look back on, and then not performing against Ireland, not taking the chances against England, and then whatever kind of mixture of those two that did have in the defeat in this one as well. So definitely would change the whole complexion for them in terms of looking back on the tournament. And the other thing to consider is Scotland have it is very slim, but a very slim chance to win the title as well, right? So to do that, they first of all have to win by 52 points. And then France not get any bonus points out of the game. Plus, Italy would have to beat Ireland, and Wales would have to beat England, without England getting, I think it's 2 losing bonus points out of the game. And if they could do all that, Scotland could be the champions. But again, very, very slim odds of that actually happening. But I think, Scotland, they've produced some fantastic performances in Paris in previous years. And I think also we talked about being favourites or wherever, right? But I think Scotland still kind of feel better, and they are better being party poopers compared to being favourites themselves for titles or for whatever, right? They're still kind of in that kind of, that phase of the development, right? That they see, for whatever reason, they get themselves up to kind of spoil somebody else's party a lot better than they can when they're going into a game where something for them is on the line. Like if you look back at the Ireland game, right? Now they weren't favourites going in there, but they still didn't perform. And then if you look at the England game, where England were slight favourites in that, but Scotland had that 4-year winning streak there, but still they couldn't quite get themselves up in terms of getting that performance, and the performance includes finishing off their chances, which they didn't do enough of in that one. So you could definitely see Scotland coming to Paris to basically spoil the party and to get themselves a big scalp out of that as well. And that really, again, would turn things on the head in terms of how they look back at their tournament. But whatever happens, I think in this one, next year, for them, finishing wherever they finish this year, if it's like second, third, or fourth, or like, unless they become champions, basically, if they're finishing in third or fourth or even below, depending on how other games go, like if some other teams maybe produce, I'm not even sure actually. Let me just check, because I'm not sure if they can be caught by anyone. No, they're on 11 points, so they can't be caught by anyone below them. So they're going to finish at least fourth. But if they're finishing third or fourth this year again, I think next year, they then do have to be looking at it and say, is there any real progression from our team? We haven't finished in the top two. We've gone in every year full of optimism. We have a fantastic group of players, but we can't get them to, in order to finish at least second in the tournament, they've basically got to produce 4 out of 5 games where they have really good performances and get a win. And we haven't seen that from them in this period. And then the other thing is to consider after this tournament is that if they were thinking of making a change, and we talked about, Franco Smith potentially going to Scotland, if they decided, they didn't want them to go to Wales and Townsend wasn't the guy for them anymore. If they were going to do that, I think this is the year to do it, because when you get into next year, right, then you basically just got a year left until the next World Cup. And it's really is sneaking up on us, right, when you think of it in those terms. And then, that's a big risk to change your head coach a year out from the World Cup. And it has had positives for some teams, but not so much for other teams as well. So I think a lot to consider for Scotland out of this in terms of how it goes. But overall, I think, the big theme for this is going to be France, a chance to clinch the title at home. And as well, something we have to consider as well, if they do win the title, they've done it the hard way, because they had to go away to Twickenham and to Ireland, to the Aviva. And if you look at the draws that they have and the relative strength of teams, those are kind of, at least in the last kind of 4 or 5 years, those have been their 2 toughest away days, to go. Obviously, they did have a record win in Twickenham, a couple of seasons ago, but they lost there this year. They have had, afternoons in Ireland where things haven't gone so well for them either. So to be able to win a title and do it the hard way, it would be fantastic for them, obviously, to get a title as well, because it's been a while since they've gotten one. But also then looking into next year, then you have to think, if they do win the title this year, they're probably then the hot favourites for a Grand Slam next year, not just the title, but for the Grand Slam as well. So, a lot going on this weekend. Some fantastic games, as I said, nicely building up through the afternoon as well. I can't wait for it, and I hope you guys are going to enjoy it as well. So let me know what you think down in the comments.